I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Atonement by E. McEwen. Atonement by E. McEwen presents the readers with many moral dilemmas and conflicts from its beginning pages. When analyzing literature, one of the first things we often ask is the narrator reliable? With the glimpses we get into the characters, we soon come to realize that the characters, especially Bryony, are not very reliable. Um, Next, I want to talk about kind of the facilities and function of this book. When reading literary criticism on this work, one of the most interesting things I found about this book was the idea that the text is not written in a stream of consciousness way, but rather in a slow drift association way. This is a kind of storytelling where the author and the storyteller shows you things that you need to know to interpret a story a specific way without telling you what to think about them. It's that classic showing, not telling kind of idea. We see this in a lot of um, films nowadays where we're presented with dialogue but very little commentary, and we're left to kind of interpret it, and things start to get wrapped up within those last pages or those last 30 minutes of a film. I definitely see this with Atonement, um, where this text doesn't really have like a point A and a point B. It does have those distinct timestamps throughout their lives, but it is really about more examining human nature and the development of a character, specifically Bryony. Another thing about slow ditch association that I really enjoy is that it's self-referencing. So this is where we see a lot of symbolism, uh, and we return back to a lot of the same points. This does a really interesting thing and creating like this like phony sense of nostalgia where we are recognizing things we have already read before, and starting to connect the links, or associate them with certain meanings. I really enjoyed learning about this, and it really helped me understand how slow drip, how Atonement functioned as a book, especially when I criticized it at some points for feeling as though it was lacking a plot. Now that we have examined a little bit about how, or a theory about how this book functions, I want to talk a little bit about a particular idea within the text, and that is this theme of retrospective and self awareness. Um, First off, I think one of the main functions of this text, within the text of Bryony's story, is catharsis. It is her recording her story as she saw it, um, and kind of making a case as for why things ended up the way they were, but with that twist at the end of she wrote in the ending, I would say, as she wished it to be rather than it was. This brings up an important dilemma in truth telling in literature. At what point is the truth at the artistic liberty of the writer? I remember in a lot of our discussions, this was a point of critique, saying that Bryony, in a sense, rewriting this moment in history was just her satisfying her ego. Well, I understand that point. I think this kind of idea of rewriting the past, or like this interesting nostalgia factor, um, is that she rewrote it while fully acknowledging that it is not true with those last chapters of the book. One thing I enjoyed about hearing my peers' criticisms was the idea that the most truthful character in the text was elderly Bryony. I definitely agree with that because I almost see that last part as like an epilogue where it's that nice, tight like 5 minutes at the end of a movie where everything starts to make sense. And I really see those last chapters as that moment. I see those chapters as a moment of self awareness and Bryony respecting um, her story while also still being a storyteller. I think it also says something about humanity while sometimes history and truth doesn't satisfy um, our human needs or our needs for a happy ending. And Bryony almost writing that ending in, I thought did respect to a story that she, in some ways, didn't let happen, even though we are unsure if it would have ever happened that way, or if the things happening in that story were even truthful because they are from one perspective. I hope you guys enjoyed this little discussion and commentary on the text. I look forward to hearing what you guys think, and thank you.